So when we talk about financial planning, people usually we say, I have done enough of investments. And this is
Correct.
from the time of 2003 that I've been interacting with lot many of our clients and prospects. And all that we found that people only had life insurance policies and they used to term that as an investment. First of all, the challenge for me was to first of all break that myth that insurance is not investments. Sit down with the client with a dedicated time and say, what are your requirements? Let's sit down, jot down all your
Hmm.
requirements. Sit down with a cash flow and then devise those solutions around your cash flow. And that's where the entire financial planning came in. Just because I have the money, I will just not suggest you to start your investments. Why are you investing that money for? There has to be some end result. So if you don't have an end goal post, it is very difficult for us to reach there.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome yet again to Business Networking with Vipul Bondal. I have a very good friend today who's financial planner, and his name is Rajesh Hattangady. He is the chief thinker and founder of Think Financial Planning. So that's the name of his company, Think. Think was founded in 2003 and is arguably India's first ISO certified company in the personal finance space. It offers customized solutions in wealth creation, retirement planning, liability and risk insurance, and goal oriented financial planning. Rajesh is the recipient of the MDRT, which is the $1 Million Roundtable USA. It's a worldwide recognition conferred to very few financial advisors around the world. Apparently, there are only about 70,000 of them worldwide. He is also the recipient of the Mutual Fund Roundtable. He is a community financial counselor and trains new financial advisors at Aditya Birla Capital. He has imparted his knowledge to Max New York Life insurance advisors. He is a select advisor with Aditya Birla Capital, and which is conferred to the very few in the country who have excelled in mutual funds, life and health insurance, as well as the lending business. Apart from his accolades, he shares his knowledge through his investor awareness programs at corporates, associations, B schools, and societies. Firms like Adobe, Accenture, Pidilite, Max Life, the Rotary, Blue Dart DHL, Carvale, Genpact, I mean, the list goes on. Net Magic, Thane Small Scale Association, Dramatics, IEIBS, School of Management, Indian Medical Association, etc. He was the face of Access Mutual Fund campaign Shubh Chintak and has many testimonial videos along with his clients, which have a collective of more than 5 lakh views. Welcome, Rajesh. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Vipul. Thanks a lot.
So, the name of your firm really intrigued me. So, let's begin with the name itself. So, what is the origin of the word think? And think with a double I. We are on Thinkly, so it's
Yeah.
all think today. So,
Yes.
you may want to just tell us how did you originate with the word think? Why
Yeah.
think? And just tell us a little bit about that.
So, when I started off this particular business and profession, I was thinking of a name. And
Correct.
it's so difficult nowadays to think of a name because the first thing that we do is basically to look into the website, whether that website is available or not. Because
Correct.
obviously you need to have that for a very, very long time. And so I was struggling big time. And my son, who was, quite young that time, he had this particular peculiar habit. Anything that you would ask, he would say, Socha. He would need an answer immediately,
Okay.
right? And he would
Interesting.
have this
Yeah.
thing, Socha, 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 all the time. And that's where I thought, why not have it as a thing?
Okay.
The challenge for me was post that, because
Right.
think belongs to IBM, think
Correct.
differently. It
Correct.
belongs to IBM. So obviously I would not have the website. Post that, then I said like, okay, let me put one more I, you know, and it will still sound the same. It will still be pronounced the same. And I got that particular website for myself. But the challenge was that all the people who would look at this name would say, Ye kya? Is it numerology? Is it some Baba ne bola? Is it this and is it that? Okay.
Okay.
So rather than asking about what exactly we do, the first question would have been, why did you change it? Is it because of numerology? So it would take the conversation in a very different tangent.
Okay.
So I and I both fortunately for me, stood for insurance and investments.
Okay.
Right. And then post that, once we got into this business seriously, I designed it in such a way that there are two people getting associated on a common platform. So if you see that it shows that there are two people standing with each other and trying to
Correct.
make a financial plan. So that's
Okay.
how then the entire thing has been, designed.
Correct. Very interesting. It's fun to go into the history of why certain names and brand names and logos
Yeah.
got got made, and this is also a fascinating story. So just tell us a little bit about the kind of work you do. So when you typically say financial planning, most people think they know, but when you'll actually tell us what you do, we'll probably realize that okay, we didn't know this aspect of financial planning. So if you can just tell us what is it that you actually
Yes.
do.
Correct. So when we talk about financial planning, people usually we say, I have done enough of investments. And this is
Correct.
from the time of 2003 that I've been interacting with lot many of our clients and prospects. And all that we found that people only had life insurance policies and they used to term that as an investment, right? So the
Correct.
first of all, the challenge for me was to first of all break that myth that insurance is not investments and vice versa. Right.
Right.
So first of all, to tell them and put across this idea was difficult. But then slowly and steadily, we got into insurance. I started off with insurance in 2003, and that's how people then started to ask, Rajesh, do you do car insurance? Do you do health insurance? Do you do mutual funds? Do you do fixed deposit? So on and so forth. So initially, I used to avoid saying yes, but then eventually I had to give in and say, yes, if the client is asking me twice, I cannot refuse him on the third time because then I will
Right.
lose him permanently. And
Correct.
in a way, it is like getting somebody else in the system where he could then, command that particular conversation, and I would be out
Correct.
of the picture eventually, which
Correct.
which is a big risk in today's time. So
Absolutely.
for me, it was important that the clients pushed me into getting all of this products and solutions, and that's where I got into the entire thing. Now the thing is, it was still isolated. So
Mm.
you had some excess amount of money to invest. You would say, I want to invest into mutual funds. Then you had a life insurance. Then you would just take it life insurance because you had excess money to spare. You have a child plan. You have so many other things, and you would take it arbitrarily, right?
Correct.
That's where then we had to actually sit down with the client with a dedicated time and say, what are your requirements? Let's sit down, jot down all your
Mm.
requirements, sit down with a cash flow, and then devise those solutions around your cash flow. And that's where the entire financial planning came in. So it's like if you ask me, can I bat in cricket? Yes, of course I can. But can I bat the way either Virat Kohli or Sachin Tendulkar bats? The answer is no. So the coach actually sat down with that player and then he charted out that particular plan. And that's how then, with discipline, you got the entire thing, going ahead. And these are all time bound. So we had to make
Okay.
timelines for that. We had to tell the clients that you need to have patience to go through the entire thing. It was quite a,
Quite
new thing for all the clients at that point
okay.
of time in 2003. But I am happy that we pulled it off.
And yeah, I mean, financial planning has moved several notches ahead since then. I mean, that was early, actually, the time when, where a lot of dot-com companies,
Correct.
which invested in the financial planning business came in and,
Yeah.
helped, in with financial planning and right. So I will take a question from the audience.
Yeah.
This is a question from Vinod Deshmukh, which is very interesting. He says, for younger generations just starting their careers, what key financial habits should they develop to ensure long-term wealth?
Good question. We know the first thing that you need to remember is that everything has to have a timeline. Uh, just because I have the money, I will just not suggest you to start your investments. I would then ask, why are you investing that money for? There has to be some end result. So if you don't have an end goal post, it is very difficult for us to reach there. So first of all, decide as to where you want to eventually land up in. And then post that, it will depend upon what kind of a solution we would be recommending to you to fulfill that particular goal. That's one. Second is discipline, because often we have seen that we get swayed with whatever our peer group does. So there are a lot of times that people would usually say, I made a good amount of money by trading today. I'm into equities, I am into that. And it's quite tempting. It's just like going into a supermarket or a mall, knowingly that you don't want to buy anything and you're just doing a window shopping. So what would eventually happen is you would see a wristwatch, probably a nice wristwatch, and you would say zero percentage EMI, and you would say, what the heck, I mean, it's just around 10,000 rupees a month, why not as well as buy it for the next 6 months? I'll be possessing that particular beautiful watch. So one gets lured into all of this. So somewhere we need to have the discipline to say no, which unfortunately we have seen that in a time of immediate, you need that particular gratification, instant gratification, and that's something that we need to avoid. So to
Right.
tell you an example, currently there is this Black Friday sale. Now it was alien to us that before Black Friday, then you had this there's this particular a sale which is on Amazon, right?
Correct.
And most of the people would buy on Amazon and then they would wait for Black Friday and then they will again buy it. So certain things are not needed to be bought, but we'll still buy because we fear that we may not get it at a later point of time.
Right.
So one is discipline, one is have a timeline. It's not the amount that you invest is important, it's the discipline that actually you inculcate. That's key to your success towards wealth planning.
True.
I
So
hope I have
discipline,
answered Vinod's question.
I'm sure you have. And as we go along,
Yeah,
we'll have more questions which may,
sure.
clear any doubts if there are there in
Yeah.
his mind. So, discipline is something very, very important. And I remember we had this chat a few days ago when you mentioned that, people do make a lot of money. They make a lot of returns. But the beauty is when they're able to conserve the wealth that they make. And,
Yeah.
you're one of those very few people whom I've met who actually speaks of wealth conservation and, gives importance to wealth conservation. So, is there anything specific that somebody needs to do to conserve the wealth while growing it, obviously?
Hmm.
And are there any specific safeguards or tips that you have for how people should guard their wealth?
Okay. Okay. So I would start off by giving a small example. And so this is the palm. We have 5 fingers here,
Right.
right? This is the 5 must insurances that one needs to have. One is a life insurance, which is typically the term plan. Second is the health insurance. Third is the home insurance. Fourth is the car insurance. And fifth is the personal accident. Now, I'm sure quite a lot of us would only have heard about life insurance, health insurance. We buy a car insurance because it's mandatory. Given an option, probably I will not buy a car insurance. And that's the general sentiment that investors do have, right? But all of this goes to preserve your wealth. And I will explain you how. So when you have a health insurance, what the first question that people usually ask me is that how much of a health insurance is needed? So people typically start off with, comparing a 5 lakh rupees or a 10 lakh rupees of an insurance vis-a-vis other companies, and they will sit down to compare all of that. We normally ask them differently. We say, how much of money do you have today in your bank that you need to preserve? Because assuming that we don't have a health insurance, and if I were to be hospitalized, all that money that I have saved in fixed deposit, in savings account, in other investments would be going down the drain towards my expenses, medical
That's right.
expenses. So now if I want that money to remain in the system, I need to have a health insurance. So that
Correct.
answers one particular part of that particular question, right? Second is when we are talking about preservation, we're also talking about personal accident. And I'm just taking insurance as a base so that I can explain to you in a
Right.
better way. People usually buy life insurance, and that's usually given to the person. The money is given either on maturity, which could be around 25, 30 years later, or else it will be given to the nominee who has been mentioned in that particular policy, right? So what typically happens is we do not kind of, look at how exactly what would happen to that particular person in case if he is not met with death. He's still alive. He cannot go to the office to work. But in this case, he still has those expenses to be,
Paid
catered
for.
to.
Yeah.
So which particular policy will take care of that? That is personal
Right.
accident, right? Another thing related to my house. So I may not have a home insurance, thinking that we have the fire hydrant, etc. But the fire at my next door neighbor, and the fire comes because it doesn't see Rajesh is a good guy, I won't go there. It
Correct.
would spread the way it has to, and it destroys my house. Actually, those people can actually sue me because I didn't have a fire insurance policy.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Because what would happen is, in case if I had, or I had some fire extinguishers, I could have helped him in the time of distress. Whom do we reach out to, you know, in crisis,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
We reach out to either the friends, immediate
Neighbors.
neighbors,
Yeah, absolutely.
relatives, so on and so forth. Immediate neighbors are the first one whom we reach
Correct.
out to, right?
Correct.
And that's
Absolutely.
that's why we say it's important to know your neighbors.
Right.
That's where we need to talk about preservation. And the list goes on. So when we talk about creation of wealth, like how Vinod asked, what are the couple of things that we need to inculcate? When we create, we are in the initial years, we would create and we are into an accumulation phase. Once we are into an accumulation phase, then there is something where we consolidate. And post consolidation, we are talking about taking that money out.
Right.
But how will I take that particular money out if I don't preserve that wealth?
Yeah.
So that's where the preservation comes in. So I'm changing the asset class from something which is riskier to something which is least riskier, so that your golden years, your retirement plan can be then put in place.
Right.
So it is a mix of all those things. And ultimately, the client needs to be taken in confidence. And once they understand, then it's easy. It's a cakewalk to,
Correct.
walk that path.
Super. So we'll take a question which is coming from Aman Bhanushali.
Yeah.
So the question is related to financial planning only. So the question is it better to invest in stocks, mutual funds, or real estate for long-term wealth?
Yeah. Starting off, I'm little biased towards creation of wealth, not through real estate. Okay, so there will be a little bit of bias in my answer, and I will explain you why there is a set of bias. So whenever we invest our money in any of the asset class, it could be mutual funds, it could be stocks, it could be fixed deposit, savings account, so on and so forth, and real estate. Real estate is the only asset which will tax me at maturity. So whenever I encash upon and I sell that house, I will still be taxed to
Right.
the extent of around 30%. Whereas if I invest the same amount of money either in gold or in mutual funds or direct stocks, I am not taxed that way. And questions are not asked to us, Aman, as to what are you going to do with that money. Whereas when you invest into real estate, what happens is whenever you encash, you sell off that particular residence, you
Right.
are then told to pay a certain amount of money as tax outgoing. In case if you do not want to pay that tax, because people say, why should I be paying lakhs of rupees towards my tax liability? So the
Correct.
government says, then do one thing. We will give you a scheme where you save your money for 5 years and we will give you 5% simple interest. Now, 5% simple interest is something which we don't fall for. I would rather pay that entire tax and then take it out and use it the way I want to, because I have to, capture the lost ground. I have to reinvest that money, right? So coming to the point that he asked me whether equity or whether
Yeah.
mutual funds, there will always be a gradual step. So it's in case if I ask Aman as to you are standing in front of a staircase and I tell you to take a leap of faith, how long can you jump or how high can you jump? It might be 2 or 3 steps, right? Equity is something that you graduate upon once you know the things, the tricks of the trade, right? A lot of people today go in for equity first because there is a lot of returns apparently that appear there.
Right.
Okay. So I would say going with a slow investment into mutual funds, slowly and steadily, then you get into the equities, or you can do that parallelly. You can do equities also, and you can do your mutual funds also. Equities, if you are going to trade, I would say don't trade for more than around 30% of your entire money, your investable sum. So in case if you have 100 rupees, invest 70 into good quality mutual fund schemes. 30 rupees should go into equities. And once you get the hang of it, you get confidence out of the entire process, then you can get onto the equity side in a major percentage. I hope I have answered, Aman. I've answered your question. You just need to wait for a moment till Vipul joins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So, so we'll take a question again from one of our, just a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one question which is coming from Mayuri, she asks, shall we invest on our own or there should be a financial advisor? And she's asking you, so, what would you recommend?
Simple answer. You've seen Mahabharata and you've heard of Mahabharata. You
Right.
see the photograph when Krishna is actually telling Arjun what he's supposed to do.
Correct.
Not that Arjun need to be told how to hold the bow and arrow. It's just that you have to be guided well at that point of time. And that's what the financial Sarthi will do for you.
Correct.
So yes, at any given point of time, including the two examples I gave you of
Correct.
Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, all the cricketers and sportsmen, they will all have their coaches. Not because they don't know what to do, but
Right.
do what at a particular given point of time. You need some kind of a guidance and a hand holding.
Right.
So advisor always, yes, of course, you can set in your expectations with the advisor, which has to be clear in the very first meeting itself, and you set the ball rolling. But
Yes.
yeah, advisor जरूरी है. Mutual fund सही होगा तो advisor जरूरी है.
Good one. Okay. So, to be able to understand this concept better, and you worked with several clients. So can you give us a couple of examples of good clients whom you work with? And the reason I'm asking you to give examples, so that kind of brings to life what it means, So maybe you might want to give us an example of someone who started young, or somebody who started a little later but went about it properly. So if you
Correct.
can give us a couple of such examples, that would be awesome,
Yes.
Rajesh.
So I'll give you one example where these guys were a part of the media team who came to
Right.
shoot at my premises, and as in the sales guy from within me actually came up for that occasion, and I explained them after the entire shoot, and post that then they got into serious investments in terms of
Right.
starting in a small way, albeit 2,000 rupees SIP, so on and so forth. But it's a starting, it's a step. As they say in Chinese, the Chinese proverb that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step.
First step. Yeah.
So they took that first step. The amount was not important. I didn't say that, we are only handling clients who would invest, 10 lakh rupees minimum with us. It was just 1,000 rupees to 2,000 rupees in a month, SIPs. And then we told them the idea of having a liquid fund. Why? Because these people who are in media do not have a steady income coming into them. And
Correct.
somewhere they have to carry forward the entire expenses for their family. They have kids, they have their responsibilities and aspirations of their family. So that's why we created this particular liquid fund corpus. Okay.
Right.
Now, liquid fund doesn't give you much of returns. Okay. They could have said that, FD make karenge, so I would get more returns. But the idea was to have the money liquid. So at any given point of time, in case if you needed that fund, you will be able to withdraw that within a day's
Withdraw.
time and it comes into your bank directly. This guy, who is currently now in Bangalore, he was doing some small assignments here and there as a freelancer as well. So each and every time that he did those particular small assignments, he kept that money aside and kept it saving into the liquid funds. He created a corpus of around 16 lakh rupees.
Wow. Okay.
Chota chota. It's like a, drop by drop will make up for an ocean, right? And that's what. So he understood the importance of it. Then he got into reverse investment. Then he said,
Ah,
now I do not need 16 lakh rupees at any
16
given
lakhs all
point
the
of
time.
time.
Yeah,
Why not as well as kind of link it to the family, goals? Because the family was growing, so on and so forth. So he needed for education, he needed some lump sum amount to be paid towards capitation fee, etc.
correct.
So that's how he went ahead with the entire thing. There was another client, and I need to tell this with pride because we were referred to this client in South Bombay, and
Okay.
he told Rajesh, there are some investments close to maybe around 5 to 10 lakh rupees. Okay,
Okay.
but I'm not able to locate them. He had lost interest in investment because he had lost his wife, and he had not complete interest in terms of all these investments and all that. So they were all across the place. So we used to sit down, we used to try and remove all the information using our relationship in the market. We removed, and you'll be surprised,
Correct.
Vipul. The end result was 3.5 crores of money was lying in different investment firms, which he didn't know
Wow.
of. And after saying that, sir, abhi ye pura ho gaya hai, sorry, we have completely done the exercise. Now there is nothing left. He still said, please do a recheck again. Hathi nikal gaya, pooch shayad na atke. So there are expectations like that. So it is also important to tabulate whatever that you are doing wherever you want to, whether it's on your mobile, whether it's in a book, which is an old school. You write in a book, you tell the people in the house where you are investing. Today, the biggest problem or the challenge is that the nominees don't know what you're doing, what you have done, and for the reasons why you've done that. And it
Correct.
becomes extremely difficult because during times of distress, nobody knows where the money is. And we can't service everybody, but at least we can tell them a path that this is how things have to be done, right? Third example I could give you where is it's a Christian family and but obvious Christmas is around the corner, 25th. Everybody knows 25th December is going to be Christmas, but they always used to take some kind of an swipe the credit card. Why? Because they didn't have enough of money in their savings account. So we had to actually tell them that we will devise your investments in such a way that there will be a chunk of the money always available to you to enjoy your festival. It could be Diwali, it could be Christmas,
Correct.
it could be Eid, it could be anything. But you need to have a proper focus as to why you're doing it. And similarly, even I am a great proponent of telling people that you should take a holiday fund. You should create holiday and you should spend your money because ultimately the value of money is when you spend it, not when you
Right.
hold it. You
Correct.
might see that it's a crore of rupees in your bank, but what's the point when you are 65 and you can't walk in Singapore? Right? So
True.
you need to spend when it is needed. Of course, not going overboard, going in a very systematic way, disciplined way, but you need to create all of these particular goalposts for yourself. So again, near-term goals, medium-term goals, long-term goals. There could be some arbitrary goals that people would have said that at age 40, I want to, quit the job.
Right.
So how do I create that fund? So there are so many things, and every individual is different. And that's why I said it is all customized. One size never fits all.
Correct. Okay. So now the topic of our podcast is business networking, and I know that you are a very avid business networker. In fact, we met on a business networking
True.
platform. And so just tell us a little bit about your experience as a business networker. How has it helped you in your business? How has it helped you to, I mean, of course, acquire new clients, but I'm saying in addition to that, how has that made a difference to you?
I always tell people, दिखेगा तो बिकेगा, right? Networking is nothing but to be visible, either through your actions, either to be in present in person, or your advertisements or social media. So you need to be constantly doing something where the people have you on the top of their mind,
Right.
right? It's just like I going into a family function, and marriages nowadays are there. So you go and you meet a doctor. What do you expect? The first question that I'll say, which hospital are you attached to? Because I
Correct.
know that he's a doctor. So I wouldn't ask the same question to an architect, right?
Right.
And of course, architects are differently, they're using that acronym differently in different places. that,
That's
there are IT architects and there are normal, building architects as well, civil
correct.
architects also. But when we go out, we reach out to people, we talk with them. One is we are exchanging ideas, and you never know as to who's the one who's eavesdropping and listening to you, right? There are certain times that people have come back to us stating that, Rajesh, we knew that you were into financial planning. Are you still in the same profession? Right?
Right.
People do come. Another way of how to network is basically getting into the Google Maps, you know.
Yeah.
So when you type financial planner in Thane, probably my name will appear, and these are not paid. It's just that I have to make myself relevant and putting in post at a regular, interval so that it's seen. So today morning there
Correct.
was this client and he asked me, "Do you do debt management?" So obviously he is kind of, completely into tech because of online gaming, and he's in a complete mess, and he wants us to kind of clean up that entire mess. But he came through the Google Map,
True.
right? So networking is extremely key. It is just like having small kids in the house. They network
Correct.
the best. They get to do things, or they get things in their hands, whatever that they want, right? वो उधर सोएगा रास्ते पे, but he will make sure that you give the balloon to that kid, or that
Correct.
ice cream, or the chocolate, right?
Right.
So networking is nothing but to prove ourselves as to what we are, and we are here for the long haul. We mean business. Of course, you
Right.
can't be completely blatant in saying, I'm looking out for sales. Can I come and give you some good, life insurance products? That's not what is
Correct.
networking.
That's not
Network is
what.
subtle, because a financial planner will talk about financial planning. You are into HR, you will talk about HR. It's understood.
Correct.
A doctor will talk about his profession, and there is nothing wrong. So when I walk into a clinic, what do you expect the doctor to ask me? अरे आज इधर कैसे घूमने आया क्या? He won't ask me this, right? He would say, what's the problem? Isn't it? So he knows that I'm a patient then. It's the same way. You never know who would be seeking a solution. And that's how we have to be seen. We have to mingle around, and the
Correct.
platforms could be different. The platform could be Rotary, BNI is a very nice platform. There are so many different platforms, including the
Correct.
one in your society,
Correct.
right? Where you do things for the society on a whole, or the mohalla for this thing. Then it shows that you mean business, and people will remember, अरे यार वो राजेश है ना, उसको जरा बुला लाओ, just call him. I had some query.
Correct.
So it does happen that way. It will have to be seen either on social media, either in person, or interaction, or doing something for the society somewhere. Don't treat it as a sales. Everyone is a sales guy or a sales girl here, right? Because we are all selling ourselves at some point or the other, right?
True.
The teacher is selling herself in a way that she is saying that I am the best teacher in the school. And that's why the children say that, this teacher is my favorite teacher. And that
Correct.
gives them the kick. She doesn't have to prove. She's a teacher any which ways. She doesn't have to
Correct.
prove, right? But she wants, children to say that she is the best teacher.
Correct.
So what is she doing? She's doing things out of her way to make sure that the kid enjoys what they are going through. So that's networking in short for me.
Super. Okay. So probably the last question we'll have today. Rajesh, so for somebody who's starting their investing journey, what would be the few things that you would advise them to do?
Mhm. One is sit down with a paper and pen. Write down your goals. So if there is a long weekend, we will plan where to go. Mathiran, Mahabaleshwar, Goa, wherever. We plan. So the moment you plan Goa, you would say either by road or flight. If you say Mahabaleshwar, you would say by road. How many hours? Whose car do we have to take? So when you decide upon an end result, all your other questions in the interim will get answered slowly and steadily.
Correct.
So without which, if you don't decide, it's a long weekend and we don't decide as to where we want to go and reach out to, I will only be doing circles within Bombay.
Right.
I'll be taking the Atal Setu, coming back, doing the coastal road, coming back, and then the day is wasted. But the moment I decide where I want to go and enjoy my time with my friends, all of those other questions will then fall in place.
Into
So I
place.
would
Correct.
say, Vipul, are you joining us? We are going to Goa. We are
Correct.
going by flight. We are going to spend 2 nights there, and we are going to stay at so and so hotel. Per person is going to be XYZ contribution. So all of those questions will be answered later on once you decide the goal. So the
Correct.
first and the foremost thing that people need to follow is to make a goal post for themselves.
Correct.
Post that, everything will follow. Secondly, they also need to be clear, and many times there is not much of clarity, because there will be young people who would say we just got into the career path and we really
Correct.
don't know. These are all high funda words. It's too overwhelming. We can't decide. It's perfectly
Yeah.
fine.
Happens. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. It happens with most of the people, including me when I started off, right? So it will happen, but at least you will have a rough roadmap as to where you are
Right.
going. So it's like the foundation will have to be strong. You can build a skyscraper over it. So first is goal post. Second, discipline. Amount of money is not important. You starting off that good habit is important. Brushing the teeth is important. We never liked it. We were coaxed by our parents to do it. But today it is a habit. If you ask me, is
Okay.
it a good habit or bad habit? It's a good habit, but of course. But we were coaxed to kind of brush our teeth every
To
day,
do it.
isn't
Yeah.
it? So
Absolutely.
somewhere we need to sit down, chalk out a plan, a rough plan. Even if you do not have anything, we will then devise in such a way that we will have some kind of a plan where it will keep your money flexible, so that at any given point of time it will change.
Correct.
You come at a crossroad and you say either I go on the right or on the left. So financial plans will give you that flexibility to change your plans accordingly.
Correct. And then, of course, depending on the goals and the amount that they want, on
Absolutely.
how much they want, you'll decide on how much,
They
where you
get
have to
clarity.
invest. And
The investors do get clarity. They get excellent clarity once they start. Before they
correct.
start, so it's like you walking into a halwai ka dukan, a sweet shop. Everything is sweet here. Why do you
Yeah.
walk and why does he give you a separate sweet to taste? Because he says Vipul has always taken that peda all the time. So I will give him something else so that he tastes it and he feels okay, pack a small amount, I will take it home. The moment
Correct.
your parents or your wife says, ah, this is nice, something new, the next time you will buy more quantity in that.
Ah,
So one has to taste, and you will
taste
taste
and
only when you get into it.
correct.
Sitting at the sideline and talking about and commenting is just like commenting like Harsha Bhogle on a test match and what Virat Kohli has to do,
Correct.
right? So I have to be in it, you know, to play
Correct.
that game.
Correct. Okay, we'll take one last question. I mean,
Yes.
if you're okay
Yeah,
with the
sure.
time. So this has come from Lavanya Singh.
Mhm.
The question is, can people retire early with good financial planning, or is it just a dream?
I will give you a statistic that most of the people who are into IT today are talking about retiring at age 40 and 45. And it's
Okay.
alarming, mainly because when they join in these companies and they are good paymaster companies, they seldom save their money. And if we are going to talk about 40 or 45 retirement at that age, you need to understand that because of the advancement in medical, right, we will outlive our forefathers. So we might
Right.
outlive till around age 80, 85, 89. So that means typically another 40 years for me to
After
survive on the
retirement.
money that I would have saved. So which earlier was 58 to 60. Now we are talking about 40 to 45. And this we have seen this trend predominantly in IT. The answer to this question is there is nothing that you can't do in a financial plan. It can be a
Correct.
small amount today, but it will gradually increase the moment you understand the gravity of saving each and every rupee that you earn, right?
Right.
It again depends and boils down to you because you have to survive for the next 40 years the moment you decide to retire. In case if you are setting up some kind of a business of your own, then there will be some capital that needs to be deployed in in the
Yeah,
business.
that's right.
Then again, you won't get any returns out of that. So, and not each and every investment will fructify. So there are a lot of these parameters that you need to, but yes, you can retire at age 35 also, provided you earn that much and you save that much for the rest of the life so that it becomes easier.
So Lavanya, I hope Rajesh has answered your question. So what he says is it is possible to do it, but you need to go about it in a very systematic way. it's not just a dream, it is a possibility. So on that note, Rajesh, thank you very much for sparing the time and talking to us. Is there anything else that you thought I missed out and you would have loved to speak? Take a few
I would
minutes.
I would give out one small example.
Okay.
When it comes to investment, people usually procrastinate, either in the
Right.
disguise of doing some research online or otherwise, because everybody is busy today. Um, I had done a small calculation that provided somebody does an investment of 10,000 rupees per month for the next 10 years. Okay. So he would have earned at around 13% basic returns on equity mutual funds. They would have got around 24 lakhs. They would have earned, right? But the same person, by procrastinating by 1 year, so instead of 10 years, they are investing only for 9. The loss that they would have is close to around 5 lakh rupees.
Oh, okay.
That's the power of compounding. And it only goes to say that it's always the best time when you want to start. Don't look at how
Okay.
much you can save, just have a process in place.
Right.
Once you have the process, then you can always scale it up. Don't procrastinate.
So follow the process
Yeah,
and don't procrastinate. That's the message from Rajesh. Thank you very much for the time, and really appreciate your being there.
welcome.
And my apologies, I had to cancel it for health reasons the last time round.
Yes.
But thanks for making the time again. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Vipul. Thanks a lot.